Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin and today we're going to be diving into the energy, insights, and guidance on their way in for you over the next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so welcome back my beautiful kindred spirits and anyone new who may be joining us here today for this 2-week reading. As many of you are continued subscribers and continue to come in for these readings, so thank you to everyone who has continued to join in and has found these to be useful and wonderful for you. But if you are new and you'd like to join in on this little corner of the internet, I do put out new readings every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, all sorts of things in between that. It is the spookiest month of all right now, so if you're interested in like psychic readings and other sort of fun magical readings, I have a lot of those coming up here too, so do feel free to stay tuned by subscribing. And we're going to go ahead and start looking at these piles here in a moment. But I do want to let you guys know, as of today, I also have a new paper out. So if you're interested in Samhain in the Halloween spooky times, this is the perfect time to jump in on the magical spell paper that I create and hand make myself and handcraft for you all for your own personal magic, and to really lift the release rituals you're working on, for any rituals and letters that you might be writing to past loved ones and ancestors that you might be connecting to beyond the veil, and other fun spooky things like protection and heightening your own magic. So do feel free to check all of that out down below, alongside my snail mail readings, which are also open for this spooky month if you want to look into your psychic abilities even further, if you want to look into your career or into the holiday season as we head into it, however you wish. All of that will be down below, and we're going to go ahead and start looking at these piles. So here for each of the piles, as always, I like to do on these 2-week readings, give you 2 little options here. So first we have an affirmation and then a crystal. So for the first pile, we have the crystal of green Aventurine, and then your affirmation, which may or may not resonate as we move through the pile, it's just really for an intuitive read, is turn the page. So that is pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have the affirmation of let's try again, with these little flowers and things. And then we have the crystal of this little crystal point in Rutilated quartz. So that is pile number 2. And then last but not least, for pile number 3, we have an interesting one in the fact that I'm not sure if this is dyed quartz or a heat-treated piece of amethyst, but either way, it's meant to look like citrine, so I'm going to call it citrine. So this is a little piece of citrine. It has many rainbows in it, and your affirmation here is time for action. So those are group number 3. So before you start heading off to the timestamps down below and all of that fun jazz to head off to your pile, I invite you to take a deep and cleansing breath here to really ground yourself in your intuition and see which pile resonates most for you, or piles. So let's go ahead and take that deep breath here now. So as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles here. You can choose 1, 2, 3, all of the piles, flip-flop between them, however you wish to do it. All the timestamps will be down below in the description alongside the chapter marks of this video. And as I mentioned, if you're interested in those Samhain spell and ritual papers, which are very limited, so definitely jump on it if that's something you're interested in, or the the snail mail readings, all of that will be down below alongside on my Instagram community, where I am very active, so feel free to check me out over there as well. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started with pile number 1. Hello Group 1, if you've decided to choose this piece of green Aventurine as well as the affirmation of turn the page, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set your crystal over here and your affirmation down here, and we're going to see if turn the page comes forward or if it was just a way to sort of intuitively find the pile that was best fit for you. But we also are going to be using the charms today, the affirmations as mentioned, and several different oracle decks, Lenormand and Tarot, all will be used within this reading. I'll have everything mentioned down below in the description for you to check out alongside everything else. And the tarot deck that we're going to be using today is the Antique Anatomy Tarot. I've been wanting to use this deck so much for you guys alongside this new deck of the Woodland Wardens. Aesthetically, it's just gorgeous, and there's just something really wonderful and woodsy about them. And I really wanted to bring that forward right now with the balancing, grounding energy of Libra season and the autumn over here in the Northern Hemisphere. So I hope you guys are feeling cozy and ready to go for this nice 2-week ahead check-in and reading as we love to do here. And as always, we're going to start here with the first 3 cards to check in on the main energies coming through for you for these next 2 weeks. So feel free as always to send your energy in through time and space. And let's see, Group 1, what do you have coming in for the next 2 weeks, Group 1? The next 2 weeks in career, in love, in your relationships, in tasks that you maybe have on your mind. Let's see what's coming up. So first off, we have strength coming in. So we have strength. Whenever I see this makes me think of like the longest bone in the body, which is your like thigh bone. I can't remember what it's called at this exact moment, but it's like one of the strongest and longest bones. But it doesn't really get a lot of like credit for that, right? So this is also just for kind of coming through for me, this idea of like getting credit for the pages you've turned previous and the strength that you've gone through previously and how that's created some resilience within you. But we're going to see a little bit more as we move forward. That's just intuitively what I immediately got. It's also the number 8 in case that resonates for anyone. But let's see. Group 1. What do you have coming in for the next 2 weeks for the main energies? The main energy coming through, the most highlighted energies to come through for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so we also have the 4 of elixirs and the King of Blades here. So I'm going to go ahead and lift these all so you can see them all next to each other a little bit closer here, so you can really look at the imagery and things. When it comes to these cards together, like I said, there was something about not getting credit or feeling like you aren't being celebrated for how far you've come, whether that's from yourself, right? Sometimes we can almost even get frustrated with ourselves because we're not giving ourselves the credit. We're moving on to the next thing and jumping to the next thing and not really taking time to celebrate ourselves, celebrate our wins, celebrate also our losses and how much we've grown and become resilient through that, and how you kind of push through adversity within your life. That's what I'm getting here with strength, is just that like you're realizing how strong you are, and that's coming through, especially within the mind space and being more aware of that, because the King of Blades is very much a mind, right? It's very much like the blades represent communication, thoughts, ideas and things, and they're all being sort of born in this brain space and being able to visually see how much strength is coming through for you. So I feel like that's really being highlighted for you within these next 2 weeks, is realizing not only that you have to be strong necessarily these next 2 weeks, but more so that in the past you have had to, and that's kind of coming up to realize that that's something you need to nourish and enjoy and celebrate within yourself. As for the 4 of elixirs here, it says things like morphine and cyanide, things that you don't really want, right? We don't really want these specific bottles, right? So I feel like there might be someone in your life, possibly someone who's a King of Blades kind of energy, so someone who's very much in the mind. They might be somebody who's very much also like it's my way or the highway kind of feeling is what I'm getting here. They're also quite maybe strong-headed kind of coming through. There is this feeling that there might be someone trying to offer you their opinion that was unsolicited, or not needed, or just, I feel like there might be someone in your life that's trying to kind of like bring forward an energy you just really don't need right now, and they're kind of trying to push an agenda or push an idea on you, or trying to push a belief that they've believed for a very long time and kind of trying to keep you in the hold of it. And it's reminding me of the idea that like when you put up a boundary with someone, so say someone offered you a idea and you didn't want it and you said repeatedly no, you've put up a boundary, you've told them off, right? There's this feeling too that the people that are going to push that boundary are usually the people that end up getting something on the other side of it, right? So by keeping you in their belief, in their idea, in the job they want you to do, or whatever it is they're trying to kind of make happen or push a boundary on the other side of it, they're going to get a reward from that. They're going to get something out of you from that. And when they push that boundary, it's because they're now not getting that thing that they want, the gold on the other side of the wall that you've put up. And so it's okay to protect your gold. It's okay to protect yourself and to protect yourself from this person. That's really coming through here, is to kind of keep your strength and be strong-headed and kind of have to push back a little bit. There is a bit of that like earthly energy coming through as well, to kind of push back against those ideas that they're trying to maybe bring out in you, or remind you that you should be doing this when it doesn't really resonate with you anymore. And I'm not going to say that it's always easy, but there is something about needing to do that as well, because an opportunity might be arising that seems maybe great on the surface, but as you can tell when you read these cards and these bottles, they're not really necessarily good for you. So there is something about that too, like the idea of like picking your poison. So with those in mind, let's go ahead and move on to another main energy coming through, and that is with the Woodland Warden. So we're going to see what comes through here, and then we'll look into 2 cards to showcase the outer and inner influences for the next 2 weeks. But let's go ahead and see which Woodland Wardens are here to kind of guide you or to give you a little bit of advice moving forward. More like guidance, honestly. It feels more like they want to give you some guidance. So let's see. Group. Oop. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take both of these. They both fell out. And of course, like sometimes I'm just like, they just know things. The porcupine and the anemone, as well as the chipmunk and the laurel. And it says here, boundaries and success. So there is something about by putting out your boundaries, there's going to be a success on the other end of it. So that's already really lovely to hear, that they're definitely seeing that for you, that there's a success by putting out your boundaries, by telling someone off and having to kind of put your foot down, And so that's what I'm immediately getting. And I've already talked about this quite a bit, so I probably won't talk about it too much more. Success with the chipmunk and laurel, though, also can talk about just in general that you're going to maybe have a more successful, for you, whatever success personally means to you, a more successful week or the next 2 weeks, that the things that maybe you're trying to manifest or have happen, or the things you're trying to get done are going to be more successful than you were expecting. There's like a lot of good luck coming from this little chipmunk. And this chipmunk also likes to take trails that are less traveled, right? So there's a lot of people who like to go this same way. And maybe that's what's coming through here. People want you to keep you in a box or keep you on the same route that they've always taken. And there's something about success coming from unlikely pathways. So just something to keep in mind. So now we're going to look at your outer and inner influences for the next 2 weeks. So we're going to pull 1 card for each with this little Lenormand deck here. So feel free to start sending your energy in for these. But we're going to look into first the outer. So these are influences outside of your control. So these are people in your life, their thoughts, their feelings, their beliefs, their actions, society as a whole, spiritual influences, things like that are outside of yourself. And then we're going to see what's influencing the next 2 weeks inwardly, so the things that you can control, your actions, your thoughts, your feelings in a way. We're going to see where that comes through. So first off, we're going to look for the outward. So what is coming through for the influences, the things that are going to be influencing the next 2 weeks outwardly? So we have a lot of communication. The chickens also represent a lot of gossip. So there can be a bit of that toxicity kind of coming through here. And then the bear usually represents, like for me, like a mama bear or a papa bear or a parent or guardian, family member maybe that's coming through here, with the number 15 and 12 showing up in case that resonates for anyone. 12 is a dozen. We also have the 7 of Pentacles and the 10 of Wands. The 10 of Wands usually represents kind of overbearing nature, and the 7 of Pentacles represents kind of feeling like stagnant or stuck in some way. So you might be feeling right now that you're kind of stuck in this toxic loop with this person, and those boundaries are going to be really useful to you. So truly, like that's coming through again and again. Outside of that though, just in general, you might have also some opportunities coming through, because the bear also represents opportunities for long-term growth and long-term success. So that could be that the person that's trying to waver you and snake into your life could be trying to offer you this. So if that's the case, then that might be a boundary to put out. Otherwise, if it's outside of this person or these situations that, like I was mentioning before with those boundaries, it might be something worth checking out. So that's just something to keep in mind. But we're also going to look into your inner influences. So what would be useful to you to influence your week, or to help you throughout your week and guide you throughout your next 2 weeks, when it comes to what you can control. So what can you control? What can you control? Okay, so we have the moon. Interesting. The moon's a very hard one to control, right? The moon is our emotions. It's our dream space. It's this very fluid, mysterious, illusionary kind of nature to it. Illusion is really coming through a lot with this, is the idea of illusions. That's why I said I felt really called to the idea that like someone's trying to slither in a belief in your mind, and it's really easy for them to sort of, the air element, it's air, right? It's really easy to pretend that air isn't around us all the time, but it's affecting us all the time. Even if we can't physically always see air, it is around us. So in that same way, this is giving me that feeling that there's going to be things in your life that are within you right now that you're not maybe noticing how the actions are coming from this place of illusion, that you're maybe taking actions or doing things because they've always been done this way, or you kind of just aren't seeing. It's like a glass house, right? Like you're just not seeing it. So this is the time to be more aware of the illusions in your life, to try to maybe take some time to notice when and what people are saying to you, and whether or not, like, objectively that is good for you or helpful to you. Just being aware of it, right? No judgment here, just aware of the conversations you're having with people, being aware of how you talk to people objectively, with no judgment, just understanding and being aware. Those sorts of things could be really helpful for you moving forward within these next 2 weeks. We also have the number 32, as well as the 8 of Cups. The 8 of Cups usually represents needing to walk away from a situation as well. So that might also be a nod towards needing to walk away from someone for at least these next 2 weeks, as just to get a little bit of time to process and become more aware, and to kind of recover your strength back up. So with that, that is all of your cards here, but we are going to move on to your charms to get your final little bits and bobs details. But if you are enjoying this reading so far, it would be awesome, as always, to please give this video a like, or to share it even, would be really lovely. Check out the Kindred tip jar, or also there are the comments down below. I'd love to hear how it's resonating for you. But let's go ahead and seek out these messages with the charms. So for the final little details for group 1. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to zoom you in. Interesting too, I didn't mention this earlier, but we still have that turn the page, so there could be something about needing to turn a page with someone. As for the charms you got, you did get a lot of like holiday specific charms, which is giving me the idea that maybe you're going to be seeing these people and that's why you have to put these boundaries up, and maybe you're not getting some time away from them is because there might be holidays, birthdays, big events, or things that you feel you need to be present at. So that's coming through in some way for some of you. We also have the sun coming in here on the mouth, specifically the mouth, which just gave me chills, on the mouth of this king of swords, right? The person who's kind of maybe talking the talk but not necessarily walking the walk here. And we have the sun, and the sun represents things that are very opposite of the moon, right? It's clarity. There are no illusions. At high noon, there, especially at the equator, there are no shadows. Everything is just as it is, stark and clear. And so they're becoming more clear to you. Their words, their communication, the way they speak to you, the way that they communicate with you, the what their words really mean, the subtext of their words are coming through a lot more clearly for you, especially at these holidays and events and bigger things. So that's just something to keep in mind. You also have the turtle here, the turtle representing, this is specifically like more of a sea turtle, which is coming through for me. I usually don't think about that, but there is this feeling of like the strength that it takes, like for little sea turtles to get off the beach and all the way to that space. There's a lot of vulnerability that comes in strength through adversity, and so that's coming through. Also just the idea to maybe slow down, coming this next 2 weeks, to give yourself a little bit of grace. And then we also have on boundaries, the candy cane charm usually represents to kind of freshen up your boundaries. Makes me think of like peppermint, or really just mint in general, toothpaste and things. So it's like to freshen something up, to clean something up. And so that's like to maybe refresh your boundaries and make them known. And then we also have on the chipmunk and laurel, wow, with success, you have the self-love charm or the self-care charm coming through here alongside the little top. So whenever I see these little tabs, it makes me think of like a can, and it's like that like release feeling. So when you allow yourself a little bit of that time, a little bit of that grace period, you also give yourself a little bit more space for success, because it isn't so like grinding kind of gear kind of nature, or this feeling of like needing to be in the grind. So giving yourself a little bit more of that. So that is all of your charms here and your cards. I hope that this was useful to you, and I'll zoom you out so you can see everything. Do let me know down in the comments down below how this resonated for you, and if it was useful to you, or if you saw any specific little charms or things that came through for you specifically. I love hearing that kind of stuff. Also, do be sure to give this video a like, and if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe, as I put out new videos every single Monday for love, career, spirituality, things that are very empowering here. I love to give you guys tools and helpful ideas coming forward alongside your messages. And I also do fun little magical things this month, as we are in these spooky months. So if you want to see like your psychic gifts and magical gifts and things like that, you can check out the video that I'll have in the description down below. And you can also check out the other kind of videos that I have here. Do feel free to have a little peruse. But also, you are welcome to check out the other ways you can support this space. It is just a little space on the internet, so I really do appreciate any support that comes through. Truly, I'm very grateful. All of the links that I'll have for all of that will be down below, but I do snail mail readings, as many of you know, and I also have some Mabon paper left, and soon we'll have some Samhain paper, so do stay tuned for those. Those are going to be very magically charged, as it's like the top magical holiday. So do feel free to check that all out down below, and also on my Instagram community, where you can check out more of my magic, art, creativity, and queer topics alongside tarot and everything. So I do hope you have a wonderful next 2 weeks. Do keep those boundaries going and reevaluate those things, and I truly do wish you the best. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 2, if you've decided to choose this piece of Rutilated Quartz alongside the affirmation of let's try again, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set your affirmation down here so you can see it during your reading today. We're going to see if it was just more to intuitively bring you to this pile, to see the messages that come through, or if it resonates with your pile, we'll see. But we're also going to be using the charms today, as well as the affirmations as mentioned. We'll be using Lenormand, Tarot, and Oracle here, and I'll have all of this listed in the description down below so you can check that out if you're interested. But the deck that we're going to be using here is the Antique Anatomy Tarot. I've been enjoying this so much for its just like really woodsy feeling as we are in the Northern Hemisphere at least, going through autumn. But I'm also going to be using some other more autumnal decks. So those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, sorry that I'm bringing in so many warm tones. I can't help it. I'm just so excited. But I hope you're enjoying spring over there. But let's go ahead and start looking in. Let's just get started, right? So we're going to look into the first 3 cards as always to look into the main energies being highlighted within these next 2 weeks. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space, and feel free to get cozy as well. And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, we already have one flying on out. All right, so as I mentioned, you have the Hermit here. I just took a small break here to put on all my rings and everything because I just realized I wasn't wearing them. But anyway, yeah, you have the Hermit showing up here. I love this one with the candle on top of their head, this feeling of kind of balancing things, needing time for solitude, needing time to sort of meditate on things, to take some time to yourself, even to heal or to grow in some way, to reflect, to kind of honor your own time. So we're going to see a little bit more here. So let's see what else is coming through with the Hermit in these next 2 weeks. Okay, so we also have the Hanged Man, or the Hanged One. In this case, it is more looking like it actually would be. And it usually represents needing a pause, again, for reflection, taking some time off, needing to reevaluate your situation, how you got there, how things can continue to move forward. There is this feeling of just needing to rest and sort of like tie yourself down, slow down in some way. So let's see a little bit more, because a lot of this is slow down energy, but I want to look a little further here. Group 2. What do you have coming in here, group 2? And please do feel free to send your energy in. As always, it does help. We're going to look. So we also have the suit of elixirs with the fertility tonic, the number 12, and this is the Knight of Elixirs, also known as the Knight of Cups. It did fall upside down, which tells me that things are kind of like the reversed meaning of this. And the Knight of Elixirs likes to move forward. All of the knights are all about forward movement, as well. These are kind of slowing things down, where this specific knight isn't like the fastest moving knight, but they do move because they have a passion, because they have something that's keeping them going. The elixirs usually represent things like it says fertility tonic, so things that are useful and impactful, or what is the word I'm looking for? Intentional in your life. So it's making sure that the tasks that you are doing actually bring you pleasure, bring you joy, bring you gratitude, bring you something that makes you feel very fulfilled in some way, or a slight bit of fulfillment, a little grain of sand to add to the cup of fulfillment, right? So there's something moving forward there, but I feel like you have to reevaluate why it is that the tasks that you're currently doing maybe aren't bringing you as much joy as they once did. This isn't to say that they never did, but it's just that there is something about them kind of shifting or changing. It could be because whenever we change seasons, sometimes, the things that we were doing the previous season just don't really stick. There could be that there are just things that there's too many maybe on your mind, and you kind of like have to narrow things down. It could also be coming from like a place of just feeling like lack in some way. And the fact that you got let's try again with this entire little spread here is just reminding me of that same feeling of needing to maybe try again and giving yourself the opportunity to try again. I do this all the time. I feel like there's a lot of people who, and me included, by the way, I used to do this a lot, where I felt like I could only begin the week again or begin the day again when the day actually started over, or when the week started on Monday or Sunday, however, whichever day is the start of the week for you. But for you, it's just reminding you that you can start again in any moment, right? You can say the wrong thing and start again in the next moment. You can retrace your steps and then start again, right? There is something about needing to have the opportunity to start again, to be reborn from the ashes, to take some time below, to come back up and reborn again. This isn't always that intense, but just the idea that, like, if you've misstepped something, or if you feel like you took a misstep, it isn't that you can't come back or you can't retrace your steps. So I'm going to go ahead and leave those 3 there, and we're going to go ahead and look at your next card here with the Woodland Warden's Oracle. Been having so much fun with this recently. It's been so spot on for me. It's been kind of spooky. So we'll see what it does for you here, and we're going to see what's coming through for you for the next 2 weeks. I really like these for advice or guidance moving forward. These are really great guides or archetypes or ideas to just sort of keep in your mind and nibble on throughout the next 2 weeks. So let's see what they have given you to nibble on. Okay, clearly it's this one. Okay, I haven't really gotten this one too much, so we'll see if we look at the guidebook or anything. We have the Boar and the Pumpkin, Confidence. Interesting, because like I said, you might be, like I said, feeling in a place of lack, maybe lack of confidence, lack of worth, lack of determination, lack of just in general, like feeling like motivated to do the thing that you want to do, even if it sparks joy in you. Sometimes we just don't feel motivated to do it, and it's kind of reevaluating where that motivation is coming from, where you can draw it up from your well, right? So there is something about also with pumpkins being a specific idea of like just the pumpkin being about abundance and having a lot of abundance, a lot of nourishment in one pumpkin. So again, I also got that feeling that some of you on the opposite end of things just maybe are feeling overwhelmed with an abundance of things in your mind, and that then sometimes makes you feel a lack of motivation or even procrastination coming into this week. But I do want to go ahead and get it up in the guidebook here for you all because, like I said, I'm still quite new to this specific oracle, and I think it's really fun to check out these real quick. So let's go ahead and look at what yours says. Do feel free to pause and read it if you'd like on your own, but I am going to go ahead and read it here. So it says, with their winding vines and large, heavy-seeded fruit, pumpkins signify abundance, health, and resilience. Meanwhile, the fierce and intelligent boar is known for its sharp tusks and aggressive movements. Combined, the boar and the pumpkin embody self-assurance. Your confidence is well-founded. Any insults or attempts to damage your morale will be rolling off of your back. You are thick-skinned, like the pumpkin, and courageous, like the boar. And if you're feeling more of the reverse feeling, it might be this one. Your fearlessness may lead you into dangerous territory. Take a step back and reassess. That's what I was feeling for you guys. You can remain confident while taking time to be scrupulous. What accomplishments am I proud of, and how can I improve my confidence and sense of worth? So these are questions to sort of chew on and to sort of keep in your mind moving forward. I like the idea of the thick skin, protective energy, and sort of kind of is making me think of like maybe you're putting on airs of confidence as well, right? Like a protective layer, a performance of sorts, and that like when you get home you can finally like take some time off and allow yourself to be your true self. So there is something about that as well, and kind of putting on an armor, and maybe a lot of this has a lot to do with reflection over the next 2 weeks. Honestly, I feel like you have less like movement or things you're working on outwardly and more inward work that you're working on. So let's go ahead and look at your next 2 cards here. But if you are enjoying this reading so far, do be sure and please, I would really appreciate it if you could give this video a like. And you can also check out the Kindred tip jar down below to support this space a little bit further. But let's go ahead and look at your 2 cards that we're going to have coming up for what you cannot control and what you can control. So the outward influences and the inward influences over the next 2 weeks that will be influencing this energy. So what you can't control are usually the things like other people's feelings, thoughts, and emotions, the way that you move through the world in terms of society, big events, things like that. And then what you can control on this side will be the things that you are in control of. So your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your pathways, your actions, your behaviors. So let's see first what you have coming in for maybe what you can't control but might be influencing you over these next 2 weeks. So group 2. So we have the book. Interesting. I'm going to go ahead and pull your other one too. I'm just very curious. So group 2. What do you have coming in for the inward influences? All right. Okay. So you have the coffin or burial ground rather over here in your inward ones. And then over here on your outward, you have the number 26. You have the journal or the book and the number 10 with the 10 of Pentacles. The 10 of Pentacles meaning there's a lot of knowledge in here. There's a lot of growth in here. But as you can see, the book isn't open. So there is maybe like a lack of access to certain wise figures in your life or wisdom or someone with a higher experience possibly in your life, and maybe that's what you can't control right now, and maybe it's about seeking out a library to find more wisdom within the experiences that you're starting to reassess and understand and maybe find confidence in. It could be through videos, could be through going out and just talking to a friend or someone else who maybe contains this information. And that's kind of coming through here for like maybe helping you to gain more confidence, to understand your worth a little bit more, to have a deeper conversation, to reassess the situation, and where maybe you feel like there were these missteps. And then we also have here the number 9 with the 9 of Pentacles and the number 8 with the burial ground. And as you can see, there is a very tiny little sliver of a new moon on its way in with the waxing crescent and then this like crow or raven moving through it. So a lot of people would really associate this with like the death card or things like that. And what I'm really getting here is this feeling of like letting things come to rest, to maybe not make any big rash decisions over the next 2 weeks, to really let things rest, to marinate on things for a little bit longer before really making big decisions or momentum moving forward, to seek out advice from others before moving forward, and to still continue to seek out those places of joy, right? Yes, you may be allowing yourself to suspend in this space a little bit, but don't stay too long is really what I'm getting. So with that all in mind, let's go ahead and pull the final messages here from the charms. So do feel free to send your energy in and we will look here for you, group 2. Okay, so let's see what you have showing up here. I'm going to zoom you in and grab anything that fell off camera here. So we have the number 6 or possibly 9, depends on the way that you look at it, but 6 showing up here, I'm pretty sure. 6 usually representing things kind of evening and finding more harmony and balance, tempering things. And then we also have the letter N, in case that resonates for anyone, or the letter Z, showing up here near the pumpkin and the boar and confidence. We also have here the prepared charm. Whenever I see this, it makes me think of like to be prepared in some way, to prepare yourself to maybe even reevaluate again of that confidence, where it comes from, because when we look at this is the icicle charm, if I forgot to mention the icicles on like the side of a house, right? You have to be prepared for them. You have to be almost very aware of them, because otherwise it could be a very dangerous situation if you don't look up and notice that they're there, especially if they're melting off the side of a house. So that's coming through with the idea of like, and it fell on the boar on their eye, which The boar, like they mentioned, is a very tough creature. They're very assertive, very aggressive even. So maybe kind of taming the beast within is something that you're working on and maybe preparing yourself for and being more aware of, or at least something to do with 6 and N here. We also have here falling on top of the candle, on top of the hermit's head, which usually represents illuminating your thoughts and being more aware of them. We have the key, and whenever I see a key, it represents an opportunity, and this is a very sovereign, very level-headed and self-assured sort of energy, more of that confidence coming through, right? Confidence to lead, confidence of your own decisions, confidence of your own rulings, things like that. And maybe not second guessing them as deeply. So there is something coming through as an opportunity there for confidence to come through, but through having to first reassess. So it doesn't just come on without anything. That's what's going to kind of bring about this confidence within you. And then lastly here we have the charm falling on the Hanged One here about sort of suspending yourself, or a suspension of some sort. And we have the rock. And whenever I see this specific rock, it is one that particularly represents my dad. He's the rock in our family. He's very grounded in that way. So you might be feeling parent or guardian energy or family coming through with this. Otherwise, it can just represent that you're feeling quite heavy, and or you're feeling the weight of the suspension or of the time that you're taking off, and that might be something to be aware of when moving forward with it, especially if you're taking time off, like physically taking vacation or time off of work or something, to really assess the situation. Otherwise, it just could be that it's a more heavy situation that you're reassessing at this time. So it went a very varied ways throughout this entire reading, right? We went from joy, we have abundance, we have that thick skin energy, kind of went a lot of different ways. So I feel like a lot of you probably chose this pile, which is why it feels kind of vague, yet impactful at the same time. So feel free to take what resonates and leave what doesn't, and feel free to also go even deeper on your own if you'd like, or if you're interested, we can do a one-on-one reading as well with snail mail readings, which I have all listed down below. But if you did enjoy this reading, do be sure to give this video a like if it resonated for you, if you found something useful or helpful in any way. And also let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you as well. You can also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is a small little piece of the internet, and I really do appreciate you checking the space out and looking around. I have a lot of different videos on this channel that you can check out, and it is the spookiest month, so do feel free to check out the spooky, really fun videos that I have up already for your psychic and magical gifts and abilities. I'm going to be doing more fun ones as the rest of the month goes on, but also, if you'd like to check out the ways you can subscribe, not only subscribe to this space, but also support this space, do feel free to check out the Kindred tip jar down below, as well as the snail mail readings that I mentioned earlier. And you can also check out the magical papers and fun magical tools that I create. So all of that will be down below alongside my Instagram community, where you can check in even further. And I do hope and wish for the best for your next 2 weeks. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello Group 3, if you've decided to choose this piece of citrine, as well as this affirmation of time for action, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set down your crystal over here and your affirmation down here. We're going to see if this resonates with the actual reading, or if it was just a message for you to intuitively find your way to this pile. We're going to be using the charms today, as well as the affirmations as mentioned. We're also going to be using a Lenormand tarot and oracle deck together as a little trio, a fun autumnal fun. So if you're on the southern hemisphere, I do hope you're enjoying spring over there. I'm just enjoying the aesthetics of fall over here, so I hope that you still find these readings really useful despite the very fun, warm aesthetic that I have going on. I'll have all of these listed in the description down below. The specific tarot deck that we're using today is the Antique Anatomy Tarot. And if you are cozy and ready to go, feel free to start sending in your energy into the deck through time and space. And let's go ahead and just dive right into it, right? You guys know the drill. So we're going to look into 3 specific cards here for the cards to showcase the biggest and highest energies coming through, the highest in terms of like what's highlighted most for these next 2 weeks. So what energies are being highlighted most for the next 2 weeks for group 3 here? What does group 3 need to know for the next 2 weeks? Group 3. What does group 3 need to know for the next 2 weeks in terms of their energy? All right, so we already have the Page of Elixirs coming out, and then I believe your other 2 cards are right here, so we're going to see what they are here. So let's look. Okay, so we have another one. We also have the King of Elixirs as well as the Star. Wow, look at these beautiful colors. Maybe that's why I felt so called to tell you guys if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, because we have these beautiful florals of springtime. So they're either it's that, or I am getting just a springtime energy in general from your pile, which I think is really ironic and funny despite the aesthetics of the cards, because there is something coming through here of like a renewal or rebirth that we get from the Star. The Star usually represents kind of regaining, reclaiming things. I'm getting this feeling of like reclaiming something, reclaiming a belief, reclaiming an idea, reclaiming your confidence, your power. There's something about that, like reclaiming, possibly for a few of you, this may not resonate for everyone, but your femininity in some way just came through as well. Again, that might be very specific to a few of you, so do feel free to take and leave what resonates and doesn't. But yeah, we had time for action. So what is coming through for action here is that idea of rebirth, but what we had coming out first is the Page of Elixirs. And the Page of Elixirs is a very, as it says here, eternal youth, so a youthful spirit. They're very youthful. Think like a little kid playing around, twirling in the back garden of some sort, right? Smelling the little flowers, looking at all of the little tiny ants cross the road, right? There's something about curiosity that comes from this. There's playfulness that comes from this. And then we have the King of Elixirs, who is also like an inner child in and of themselves. They're like the parental figure looking over the little child and making sure they're having fun, pointing out the little things, and kind of it feels like it's the type of parent that would like come down to their level just to see their eyes and see their face, instead of standing above them. There isn't this authoritarian feeling coming from these next 2 weeks. So if you feel like you need a rebirth in that way of some sort of thing about the Star, or something about your family or your parents or your inner child that needs a little bit of healing, reparenting, or something like that coming through, reprogramming in that way, I just think that that's coming through. There also is this idea too, just that maybe you have a youthful spirit in your life, as in like a child of your own, a niece, a nephew, a young little person in your life in any form. It just feels like there's some sort of youthful spirit, and it doesn't necessarily mean youthful as in someone who is actually physically young, but it can just be like someone who makes you feel young, regardless of their age. So I just feel like that's coming through, that you're going to be really connecting with someone who fits that bill, as well as that rebirth energy. The Page of Elixirs I'll also mention, as well as the King of Elixirs, really like not only curiosity and play, but they also are very interested in the idea of like creativity. So also, if you have been looking for a sign to get creative over these next 2 weeks, this is your sign, right? So pull out your paints, play your guitar, go on a hike, like whatever is creative for you, whatever feels creative for your body, for your mind, for your soul. Go ahead and play with it, see what happens, and try to do it from an inner child point of view, right? Like, it's not just being creative for the sake of being creative. It's because your inner child wanted to play. So play with macaroni noodles and glue. Go to like a park with a young child, or a young one in your life, or you could even, ride your bike that you haven't ridden in forever. Like, there's just something about wanting to get your wind in your hair, get dirt underneath your nails, really just enjoy those little things in life and the sensual things that come with that, like being very aware of all of your senses while you're enjoying that process, there is something coming through there, and maybe a rebirth in your creativity is coming through with this inner child idea. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and look at your middle card here. So we're going to be using the Woodland Wardens. These usually have both flora and fauna in each of them. So we're going to see what comes through for you for guidance and anything that they would like to guide you forward on. This one feels like, especially since you have that inner child energy, like this would be like the little bird that flies next to, or you know what, it reminds me of like a little animal guide that a little child would have, right? Like noticing a little raccoon behind them in a like Disney film or something like that. I don't know. So let's go ahead and see what comes through before I ramble on about it. But it just feels like there's somebody just sort of guiding you gently along. So let's see what that is for you over the next 2 weeks. This little gentle critter made me think of like Bob Ross with his little chipmunks and things. So let's see what comes through for you over these next 2 weeks. All right, this one keeps stabbing me. All right, so we have the lizard and the pitcher plant, which is very similar as well to another card in here that I was feeling called to for you with inspiration in the salamander and black pepper. As you can see, they're very similar. There's this slithery feeling. And so with inspiration and creativity on the cards here, and then the idea that that is maybe stagnated is really interesting. So it, like I said, you're going through this rebirth and this renewal energy. So you're kind of reclaiming. That's the word that I felt immediately at the beginning, right? Reclaiming. So right now you might be feeling stagnant. At the start of this week, you might even be looking at these and being like, oh, okay, here we go again. I don't really feel that. There's like this block there. But this is how you remove that block, right? There is this feeling of just kind of reconnecting with play, like sacred play, just for the sake of doing it. So let's see what else there is here. So we have the lizard and the pitcher plant, stagnation. There is this feeling of like that Isa energy, of that icy cold coming through with the the lizard slithering on by. But let's go ahead and look at the guidebook, because we do have a little bit of time here, as I am still quite new to this deck, and I think it's really fun to just see what the guidebooks say. I feel like so many people knock down guidebooks, but they're there for a reason, right? So they give us these wonderful words and these jumping off points. So let's see what yours says here. So do feel free to pause and read that if you can, but I'm going to go ahead and read it for you. So here we go. The lizard and the pitcher plant, stagnation. The carnivorous pitcher plant traps its prey within its leaves. The lizard, which may occasionally find itself ensnared in a pitcher plant's trap, has come to represent death and resurrection. Ooh, resurrection, right? We felt that with the rebirth energy. As it possesses the unique ability to drop its tail when stuck. Interesting. I didn't know that. I'm learning things. Anyway, a new tail can grow in the old one's place, though it's never quite the same as the original. Upright, you may be feeling stuck, frozen in place, or without an escape. Reflect on the lizard's ability to shed and regrow its tail. There may be things in your life that you can leave behind, making way for new growth. Reverse, this indicates a lost opportunity. Remember that it's okay to pass on some things. But before you turn away, ask yourself why you may feel adverse or disinterested. What fears, if any, inform your decision? And then it says, what could I drop in order to feel like I am moving forward again? So, wow, really powerful stuff, right? Like where that stagnation comes from is maybe something you're going to be kind of taking some time to think about. And all of the piles that we've done today have been very much on the idea of less action oriented, in the idea of like action, move and move and move. And it's more about kind of slowing down and reassessing things. So that's definitely coming through also with you. But I feel like yours isn't going to last very long, right? You're going to just drop that tail like a kid would and move right on. They're not going to think about it too long. They're going to just throw a Band-Aid on it and move on, you know? But for some of you, maybe, like I said, your inner child had to cut that tail off many times, and it's that regrowth. It hasn't grown back the same. And so it could be a lot of inner child healing that's going to be happening this week. inwardly for you as well as outwardly through the creative expression and exploration that you might be rebirthing within. So with action, it doesn't always necessarily mean really intense action. It can also just be small little things that add up. So let's go ahead and look at the next 2 cards, and we'll be moving on to the charms just after that to close off your reading. But if you are enjoying this reading and you have found it useful, it is amazing, and I am very grateful if you could give this video a like. It really does help the channel so much, and thank you, thank you, thank you. You can also check out the Kindred tip jar if you want to support this space even more, but we're going to go ahead and pull you 2 cards here. As always, for these 2-week readings, I pull one for the outward influences as well as the internal influences. So the outward ones are about things that you can't control. So what is influencing these next 2 weeks that are outside of your control? And then what is in your control? So the things that would be outside of your control, such as society, other people's feelings, beliefs, thoughts, and actions. And then yours, what would be in your control, are your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your behaviors, your goals and dreams. So let's see first what is coming through for these outward influences, the things that are outside of your control there. So group 3, what is coming in for outward influences? So I'm going to go ahead and take this one, and in case these resonated, we had the letter, the key, and the scythe, but I was really feeling this one that fell on my hand with the number 29 as well as the Ace of Swords. And specifically for this one, it represents a person who kind of has their stuff together. They also can be a little bit vain, as you can tell, but it also comes from a really nice place as well, right? You could look at this and think, wow, they have all these beautiful, wonderful things, especially within this environment, right? Like, this would be like royalty, very expensive stuff that they're wearing. So there is this feeling of like maybe someone in your life who is sort of working on themselves or working on their own things right now. And that means that they're not really focused on you. It could also be something from your past that's coming up, right? That you can't change or control how it happened. And this could be representing a parental figure in a way or something like that related to your inner child, and how they may have been sort of focused on themselves a lot more than you. And that might be something that you're healing. It could go many different ways, but I am feeling this feeling of like an authority who is kind of focused on themselves more than others. But I want to go ahead and look at your internal influences now. So the things that are inside your control. So feel free to send your energy in for sure with this one, through time and space here. So what do we have coming through here? We have the writer, interesting, and they're kind of like writing right into, and kind of in the same way, like they're all kind of riding up towards this eternal youth potion that we had going on in this calming tonic with this little duo here. But this is the number 1 as well as the 9 of Cups, which represents fulfillment, feeling really in your element for maybe the first time, finally being able to just sort of be free in that space. This also does usually represent someone who's quite youthful and also someone who's very creative, right? They usually are a bard, so they're playing an instrument, music or other things like that might be coming through for you specifically. Really taking the time to like just blast some music in the car, do the things that you never thought you could do because of this parental figure. Or it could also just be that you're doing things for yourself now and it's not really about them, regardless of their parenting style. But there is also the idea of the writer being forward movement. So whatever you do, right, it is about time for action, taking time for action, not staying in this place or stagnating, and focusing too much on the past, but rather what you can continue to build in the future for your inner child, for reparenting yourself, reparenting where you've been, and that rebirth for yourself, and just sort of kind of almost having a phoenix rebirth from the ashes kind of moment. And it's not really about them anymore, right? It's not really about them anymore. So regardless of the things that happened in your childhood, there can just be this feeling again of just playing around with your inner child moving forward, this specific next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and finish off with your final little bits and bobs details. So do feel free to send in your energy through time and space. And let's see what we have coming in here for group 3. Okay. So one got stuck to my ring, so I put that one back, but we're going to go ahead and see a little bit closer here. Go ahead and move this up here so you can see it. So these are your specific charms. The ones that are coming through the most for me, I felt really called to this key that fell specifically at this not being able to control a parent possibly in your life, or someone in your life that just feels like a figure that's not really giving you the attention that you maybe felt like you deserved, or not even deserved, but just would have been respectful or would have liked. There is this feeling of the opportunity for love showing up here. And so there could be something that still could be mended there, possibly for a few of you, or a new opportunity that's coming in there. Maybe they're reaching out in some way or wanting to engage in some way. So that's something to keep in mind. We also have here on the figure that I was feeling that would be looking after this inner child. Probably, this is sort of like yourself looking at your inner child this week. These next 2 weeks. Wow, words. Anyway, I do feel this feeling of innocence that comes through with the white rose, innocence, and playing around with innocence and just smelling the roses. It just feels really sensual in an innocent way, right? We put the idea of sensuality as something that has to be only one way, and this can also be just really lovely and delightful. We also have here the pawn charm, so this usually represents a person in your life, so it could be just again that person might be coming in, an opportunity for that and for them to engage in your life again. We also have here coming up on the stagnation card, the charm of the goat. This is a goat that's reminds me of a monument of some sort, or some sort of statue. So it feels again stagnant, like a statue would be frozen in time. But I'm getting this feeling of Narnia, where they put a little drop of this little vial or potion that kind of rebirths everyone and kind of lets them have a breath. And so I feel like your inner child is waking up, which is really beautiful to see, and is kind of playing with you and enjoying your presence again and inviting you to play. And there also is this feeling also of just not having to put things so high on a pedestal either, and that you don't have to put yourself so high on a pedestal, and that might be what's causing a bit of this stagnation. You also have this energy of, usually when I see this, it does usually represent someone who is more on the femme side coming through, showcasing their energy, and maybe even coming through within song, within yourself, or helping to maybe guide you forward. So it does feel like a past loved one in some way, maybe helping to guide you and to give you a little bit of assistance. And then your last charm is on the little pitcher plant, and it's almost feeling like it's trying to trap it, is the wildflowers charm. And the wildflowers is literally what it states, right? A wildflower. It isn't planted in these perfect little planter boxes, even though those are beautiful, right? These are wild roses, wildflowers, wild beautiful beauty in the world, and kind of embracing that and making sure it doesn't get squelched up and eaten up by this pitcher plant and that stagnation, and rather embracing it and letting it tingle and sweep you off your feet in some way. There's just this really beautiful dreamy energy to it. So those are all of your charms and cards here. I do hope that this one really resonated with you and was helpful for you for these next 2 weeks moving forward. If it was, do be sure to give this video a like, as I mentioned earlier, but also let me know in the comments down below how it resonated for you. I love hearing your thoughts, and I know I say it in every video, but I really do. And if you haven't already, do feel free and consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell if you'd like to stay updated to the videos that I put up, as I put up new videos every single Monday. I have over 100 videos already on the channel, so if you want to check out the other kinds of readings that I have, do feel free to check those out, or let me know any suggestions of videos you'd like to see in the future as well. I'm always up for new suggestions and ideas. I haven't actually done an inner child reading yet, so if that's something you'd be interested in, do feel free to let me know. Otherwise, if you are interested in a reading specifically on your inner child or other sorts of things, even outside of that, I have private private readings down below that you can check out as well for snail mail readings. They are typewritten on a vintage typewriter and sent to you in the mail for you to enjoy and treasure for many years to come. I know many of you who have received your letter and have still told me a couple years later that they're still resonating in some way and are still finding little nuggets of information. So do feel free to check out all the reviews and how those work down below. But I also have lots of fun magical papers and other creative things that you can check out down below as well to support this space in this little tiny corner of the internet. So thank you so much to all of the support, all of the love, and I really do want to send that love and gratitude back to you. I do truly hope to see you in the next one. Bye.